Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the first HSC Podcast. If you haven't familiar with that, it's the High Society Club. So today we got myself, Steve Cole, Big Box, and we got Fresh Wes, and then we got Derek, the natural boy, Haney. If you don't know what the natural boy is, then you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. So, welcome to the inaugural and the very first HSC podcast. So today we're going to talk about a lot of things, but mainly sports. But that's not all this podcast is about. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about science. We're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about everything you can imagine. But because NFL playoffs are starting and we just had our college football championship, that's where we're going to start. All right. So first of all, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and check out the playoff games. So we're going to just go list all the way down. So what do we think? And this is kind of ironic that we're going to start with the Raiders and Bengals game, the first game, right? So we got two Raiders fans. So these are two Raiders fans. So before we really get started, I just want to know why you guys are Raiders fans. So this is me asking. So we're going to start with, let's start with Derek and then we'll go to Wes. So Derek, why are you a Raiders fan?
It's hard to say. I was probably 4 or 5 years old when I became a Raiders fan. And I think it was just their colors, their attitude. I just loved how they hit. Watching NFL films and John Hacienda narrating all the great highlights, like autumn wind, everything when you were a kid, that's just pretty cool. And I just kept on being with them and I just haven't stopped.
Raiders fans are diehard. It's a known thing, right? That's hard to deal with. So Wes, how'd you become a Raiders fan?
Well, I was born in the Bay Area, Oakland. The year Raiders won their first Super Bowl. But it wasn't until about 93 when they moved back to Oakland that I became a Raiders fan. I was a Dolphins fan, sadly, for too many years, but only because of Marino and Shula. Yeah, when they Raiders went back to Oakland, I don't know, started going to games, went to Marino games and Elway games, and just fell in love with the team. But just the tradition too. I just love the old school Raiders from the 70s. My family actually knew a lot of the players. They waited on them at a couple bars. So
there's something about the Oakland Raiders. The LA Raiders doesn't sound right. I don't think it ever was right, but we'll just leave it at that. You know, when the Oakland Raiders, something nice about that. So the question is, are we going to get some bias in this game picking, right? Because we're talking about first game, not number one game. Well, it could be the number one game. I think it'll be a great game. But let's talk about number one game, Raiders and Bengals. I don't want to hear some bias, but there can be some bias. I understand that. If the Bears are playing, I think they'd be winning. So who's going to win this? What's going to be the big key to the game? If you have a score prediction, love to hear it. But if not, no worries. So let's start with Wes this time. Wes, what's going on? Bengals, Raiders, who's going to win?
Oh, geez. I liked a lot of what I saw against the Chargers from the Raiders. Character, playmaking abilities, which I haven't seen on defense for a while. Crosby's an animal. I think he's going to be a difference maker in the game. He's gonna cause problems for Burrow. I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. But at the end of the day, I think the Raiders are going to make more plays. I think they're going to hold on to the ball. I think Jacobs is going to have over 120 yards. And I think the Bengals are going to make some mistakes. So I'm going to take the Raiders 23-21.
I like how you're talking about the turnover difference, right? Like that's going to make the difference in the game. That's something I hadn't thought about, which I'll talk about later. But good stuff there. So, Derek, how you feeling about that?
Well, the Raiders are an odd team. If you watch the games, you're like, how are they winning? Right? Most of the time, it's like when early in the season, Carr was, 300 yards, looking flashy, throwing the ball deep. Everything was great. Now he gets like 160 yards. Jacobs in between like 80 to 120 yards. So you're thinking, how are they winning? And that's, it might be biased, but they've played 4 teams in a row now that all needed to win to make the playoffs. They needed to win all 4 games to make the playoffs. So they've already played 4 playoff games going into this. And I think it goes back to the draft. Jamar Chase, amazing receiver. He's amazing. I love him. And going to the Bengals, that's great and everything. And he's great with Joe Burrow, and that's going to work. But Joe Burrow's been sacked a lot. I think it was 55 times this season, most in the NFL. Number 1 in quarterback pressures is Max Crosby and Yannick with 117 over this whole season. So they're number 1 in quarterback pressures. It's going to come down to the lines. If the Bengals can't protect Joe Burrow, he's going to get hit a lot. Just like Justin Herbert got hit a lot, and he did an amazing job, but they just kept coming and coming and coming. And then the Raiders have to run the ball. Like Wes said, it's on Josh Jacobs. It's going to be really cold. So that's also going to hurt the pass plays, because I don't know, you guys know, we don't know this, but if it's like 20 degrees out and they're throwing footballs around that fast, that hurts. So it's going to be a game that comes down to Joe Mixon against Josh Jacobs and how those lines play. So I'm going Raiders 30-28.
It's a lot of high scoring. You both, talking about, that's great. I think pretty bold predictions. I know you guys are Raiders fans, so there might be some bias there. I think it's gonna be a tough game for the Raiders, to be honest with you. You're talking about a really high-powered offense with 2,000-yard receivers, young guys, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, both going over 1,000 yards very early in their career, and Joe Mixon quietly accumulating 1,500 yards in scrimmage, right? So is the real key is Josh Jacobs, which you both mentioned, so great. Can you control the ball? Can you move the ball on them and keep them off their offense off the field? Because their defense is good. It's not great. Unfortunately, I don't think the Raiders can win this one. I'm going to have to go with Cincinnati 27-20. I hate to go against the Raiders, and that's the way it goes sometimes. That's a tough offense. But
it's Joe Burrow, yeah. It's trust me, he's playing really good right now. He has a lot of confidence. I didn't realize how much confidence he had. Watching me at LSU, he was good, but he's playing in college. But transitioning to pros, he's turned into a star. He's going to be a star in this league for many years, as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I think that's a very good statement. He's kind of already a star. He got hurt the last few games of his rookie season. Maybe they were keeping him out. We don't know. But with that season and this season, I mean, this guy's primed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league for sure. But you can't count the Raiders out. Honestly, I think the best thing we said tonight was it comes down to the line. If the Raiders control the line on both sides, offense and defense, they win this game. So let's move on though. So I know that one was heart staking. We're talking about the Raiders and you guys are passionate about it. But so now the rest of the time we can just talk about, teams that we all hate. So the next game is Buffalo and New England. And so give me your thoughts on this. So Derek, what are your thoughts on this game?
This one's a toss-up. It can go either way. The weather is going to be a huge factor there. It's going to be a wind chill of -9. So it's going to be really cold. And the last one they played when it was really cold, and the Patriots only passed the ball 3 times, and they just ran the ball the entire time. But Buffalo, since that, has realized that they can run the ball too. And I just think you can't really trust Mac Jones yet because he's a rookie quarterback. So I'm going Bills, low scoring 17-14.
Bills winning it. What do you feel about that, Wes? How do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, the weather is going to play a factor, obviously. And I do like New England's running game. I like New England's defense. I think Mac Jones, though, I think Derek's right. He's just quite, he's good, not great. I think they're gonna make him and put pressure on him, make him make a few mistakes. That might be the difference in the game. I think Josh Allen is going to run the ball himself quite a bit because he's going to have to. Because New England's coverage is superior. So Belichick's going to try to out-scheme the Bills on offense, and I think he's going to be successful to a certain extent. But I think field position, turnovers, field goals, I think are going to be the difference in the game. I'm going to take Buffalo 19, the Patriots 13.
Still taking Buffalo in the win, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the tough thing, and Wes talked about a little bit about scheming and is there a superior coaching element involved here, right? When you really think about it, is there anybody better at it than Bill Belichick when it comes to scheming, when it comes to figuring out how you're going to play this game? So I think that with Mac Jones being a rookie quarterback, I don't trust him at all. But do I trust the coaching and the scheme and the ability to keep him from making those mistakes? Maybe. This was a really tough one for me because the Bills have all the elements. I think the Bills could go to the Super Bowl. We'll talk about that at a later time, but they have all the elements. If Josh Allen does exactly what I think Wes just said, which was gets his feet involved, and makes them get out of their coverages, because what's the hardest thing to cover is that quarterback. So Josh Allen starts to run, they got to stop, doing those cover twos and those linebacker mans. So I still think the Bills win it. Even with the great coaching of Bill Belichick, I'm going to go 17-14 Bills over the Patriots. Great points there. I think we're on the same line a lot here. So let's talk about Tampa Bay, Philly. This is an interesting one. I can't wait to hear what we got to say about this. So Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. Where do we go from here, Derek?
This is a tough one for me because at first thought you look at it and you're like, Buccaneers going to destroy them. It's going to be not even close. The Eagles have no chance whatsoever. I don't think they have beaten a playoff team this year. But the Bucs have lots of injuries. They only got Mike Evans now and Gronk. Fournette's coming back, but how good is he going to be? Well, Vontae David's coming back, but is he going to be able to? I mean, you just came back off the IR. Are you going to be your superstar self right off the bat? I don't know. Philly needs to run the ball. Run. They need Jalen Hurts to run the ball. They need Miles Sanders to run the ball. They're undefeated when they run for over 150 yards rushing. That's what they need to do. They need to run. That being said, it's Tom Brady. So I got the Bucs winning 20-17. It's close. And it's supposed to be really rainy there too. So, but you can't go against Tom Brady against a team that hasn't won a playoff game.
Yeah, he's been pretty good so far in Tampa Bay. So it's a good bet with your money on him in the playoffs. So Wes, what do you think about that? How you feeling about this Tampa Philly game?
Yeah, it's get Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, and that's kind of, to me, that's going to be the difference in the game. Jalen Hurts, if he uses his legs, doesn't make stupid mistakes, keeps the game close, but I don't quite see that happening. I'm going to take the Buccaneers 28 and the Eagles 13.
Yeah, I think you're real close there with the point spread. Just to be honest with you, it's hard to see Philly beating Tampa Bay in this position, and not to say it's impossible. Philly's got some scrappers. Sanders is a little banged up, but hopefully he can get in the game. To be honest with you, it comes down to Tampa's defense. If Tampa defense gets 3 or 4 stops, especially early in the game in the first half, and gives that Tampa Bay offense enough time on the field, it's going to be hard for Philly to keep up with them. And so even though I think Philly plays well, I think they still lose. And I'm going to go with a high scoring game here, 35 Tampa Bay, 21 Philadelphia, in a high scoring event. So I think we're all on the same page there, but everybody wants to see Philly do well. But Tampa, it looks like they could be going far. And so Dallas, San Francisco, this is a game. America's team, right? This is America's team. Dallas, not playing so well in the playoffs recently. Got a stacked team, great bunch of players. Going against a San Francisco team that didn't look great to start the season. Everybody knows that. But coming on strong, and I think just looking fantastic. So I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna tell you that I think San Francisco beats Dallas here. And this is one of the higher, odds against. Everybody's thinking Cowboys win this game. Even banged up, I think San Francisco has more heart than Dallas. Maybe that's just me. Dallas has a lot of talented players. This should be the best team in the league. Dallas should be the best team in the league. It's so, when you look at how many players they have on defense and offense, it's crazy to think that everybody thinks they're going to lose. They're not going to go far in the playoffs. They should. And I think they live up to those expectations. San Francisco wins 21-7. I'll give you guys a second to regurgitate that, because that's a lot. Wes, what do you think?
San Francisco's hot. They're playing well. And whenever a team is hot and they enter the playoffs, they're dangerous. And a lot of times they make a deep run and they get to the Super Bowl. And so I want to say that's what's going to happen. I think the Cowboys are actually going to show up for once and score a lot of points. And Niners are too. I think Dak Prescott is going to he's going to light it up. And I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to have over 110 yards. I think they're just going to come out scoring early. 49ers are going to have to play catch up, which they will. But I'm saying Cowboys 41, San Francisco 33.
Wow. It's a high scoring game, but it's not like they can't do it, right? They both have flaws in their character.
And trust me, it pains me to pick the Cowboys because, I mean, yeah, they are the most talented team in the league almost every year. and they're very average.
Yep. 8-8 every year. See,
Every year.
it took a year now that since there's 17 games, they can't ever be 8-8 anymore. So they
Right.
can't just be average.
They're going to change that reputation, right? They're going to go 7 or 9 or 9-7.
That's right. I'm agreeing with Wes, but disagreeing with Wes. I think it's going to be a low scoring game because the Niners have a really good defense and the Cowboys have lots of good playmakers. And I just feel like, do I really trust Jimmy G? No, you can't trust Jimmy G. If they get along and Elijah Mitchell and the running game gets going, then it might be a different story. But I just feel like the Cowboys, Cooper or Lamb catch a slant over the middle, score a touchdown, then it's going to start steamrolling. And it's like the Niners can't, Jimmy G will just start throwing. You don't want Jimmy G throwing a bunch. But I think it'll be close. I say 24-13. Cowboys.
Cowboys, huh? It's the best team on paper. Can't argue it. So that's tough. That's my upset. So I think we'll have to see what happens there. But here's a real interesting game, and it's already given really tough to the Steelers fans. Man, it's tough to be a Steelers fan to listen to this talk about, hey, you get to go to KC, hey, it's Ben Roethlisberger's retirement party, like really? I'm like, come on, man, this is the NFL playoffs. You don't have to be the greatest team on earth, but you can't be a bad team and go to the NFL playoffs, right? So the Steelers are there, they're playing KC, and nobody argues KC's offensive talent. Is it a wash? Is it a roll? Are they just going to steamroll the Steelers? What's going on, Wes?
I would say that's a tough one, but I mean, Chiefs 40, Steelers 14. I mean,
you just believe it. You're into the steamrolling.
Yeah, Roethlisberger's had a great career.
All good things come to an end.
Yeah, and I think it's going to come to an end quickly in that game. I think Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, they're going to come out fast, have a 3-touchdown lead by halftime, and then go and win.
That's what everybody thinks. Is that what Derek thinks too? What do you think?
I don't think it's going to be a steamroll because I don't think the Chiefs offense is going up against their Achilles heel with the Steelers pass defense. TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, they are going to eradicate that line if Mahomes is passing the ball. So I expect it to be an actual Darrell Williams and all the other running backs they have, their running back stable, and it's going to be a crazy thing where they start running the ball a bunch because Steelers are not good on run defense. But there's no way, I'm sorry for this, there's no way Pittsburgh can win because Roethlisberger doesn't throw a pass more than 2 yards in the air. So I'm sorry. It's just like I was watching the Ravens game and so to get into the playoffs, they beat the Ravens with Tyler Huntley and they beat the Browns with Baker Mayfield, who after the game went and had surgery on his shoulder. Roethlisberger is done and he can't be the one to carry them. Now, if Najee Harris goes off and they just keep feeding him the ball and they do a ball control game, maybe. But I don't think so. I think it's going to be Chiefs 24, Steelers 7.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. And I think, you're both on the same page. And can the Steelers win this game? I mean, it was a stretch to say they can't win this game because anything's possible, right? You can win the lottery. I mean, that's possible. So the Steelers could win the lottery, but they're probably not going to. So unless the Steelers can really run the ball with Harris and control the ball, keep the Chiefs offense off the field, they don't have much of a chance. Regardless of, a couple really good players on defense, TJ Watt, one of the best to do it. I'm going to have to say that, you can't really go with the Steelers at this point, even if they play a great game, which I think they do play a good game. And I think you're looking at about 31-20.
Now, though,
Chiefs win.
With Mahomes, he is erratic sometimes when he tries to play hero ball. So that's one way, and it's probably not going to happen. But they do have Minka Fitzpatrick too. So,
well, don't change your mind now. Come on.
No, I'm still saying Chiefs. I'm still saying Chiefs. But to say they don't have a chance, but if it becomes where
didn't you just say they don't have a chance?
Well, here's the thing: if it becomes a game where Roethlisberger has to do something, then they have no chance.
No, right. And I agree. Has to be Najee Harris. Najee Harris can win this game for them.
Yes.
But he has to be a beast. And you can't talk about getting 2-3 yards of carry. He's got to get, a couple rack yards each time. He's got to fight through tackles. And if he can average 4.5, 5 yards a game, they got a chance. Otherwise, I don't know that you can keep Chiefs offense down there.
Yeah, if you get in 3rd and 2, Roethlisberger could throw 2 yards.
Right. So yeah. So is that 4 downs, cloud of dust? Is that how you're doing it now? All right. So the last game we're going to talk about here, which is, I think, the most interesting game that we're going to talk about today, is the Cardinals and the Rams. Like, tell me this is not like a coin flip. So what do you think, Derek? This is not a coin flip?
I've been thinking about this game all day. Cardinals. Oh, it's going to be the Cardinals. Oh, it's going to be the Rams. It's going to be Cardinals. I still can't figure this out because looking into it, it looks like both Connor and Edmonds are both injured, and who they might not play, or they're going to be very limited. But then the Stafford just keeps throwing interceptions like crazy. It's like he's like Oprah. You get a pick. You get a pick. Everyone gets a pick. But at the same time,
he's throwing some good passes. I get it though.
But then he's thrown 9 interceptions in the last 3 games. I mean, he's been throwing lots of interceptions. I still like the Rams because the Cardinals have limped. They're not the same team they were at the beginning of the year. Rams have Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey. So if Stafford isn't being Stafford of the lately games here, they're gonna win 31-21.
Well, Wes, how do you feel about that? Rams winning by 10?
No. Well, I mean, Bill Hopkins, that's the difference still. That's been the difference in the Cardinals the last so many weeks. No DeAndre Hopkins. But I still think Murray he's going to run a lot. I think he's going to have to. I think he's going to be successful at moving the chains when he has to. At the end of the day, I think Stafford is going to come through. It's going to be close. I'd say 28-27. Possibly a last-minute touchdown.
That's bold. 27 Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're calling like the score and the last touchdown, you're doing something right there. This could go either way. Like I said, it's a coin flip to me. I don't know who's going to win this game. And I think you could see some crazy high scores in this game too, because it's just so hard to know. You've got these 2 bipolar teams that don't know who they want to be. They're switching from what they're great at. The only thing is Cooper Kupp had one of the most amazing seasons that any receiver's ever going to have, right? And Stafford, just looked like Stafford in a different place. Everybody's like, yeah, he didn't have the greatest year. He had a Stafford year, and he doesn't know what the playoffs are. So can he say Stafford's going to have a great playoffs? And Arizona's just coming up, never been there before with these guys. They've got some guys, they brought in veterans that have done well, but the guys they have right now, they're real inexperienced. I think it comes down to Kyler Murray's feet. Can he get those first downs in those long third down situations? I think Wes made a good point there. It's so hard to tell here. I'm just going to have to go 21-20 Arizona. Tight game. Why not make it a coin flip, right? So we've got our NFL there, and man, I think there were some incredible things there that really can change these games, and that's how the NFL is so versatile. But let's talk about college football for a second. So you have Georgia and Alabama in the national championship, right? We're going to talk about SEC if we have time here, but what was this game? How did Georgia beat Alabama? What do you think about this game? Wes, what do you think?
I think Georgia's defense, one of the best in college football history, except when they played Alabama. They laid an egg, gave up a lot of points, and I just think that probably going over the film, going over how badly they played, they made some adjustments. Kirby Smart's, he knows Bama, and I just don't think Bama overall was as good as they were last year. And Bennett, he played well. People didn't have very much confidence in him at the beginning of the year. He had some bad games, but he played well. And defensively, Georgia just made more plays. It was a good game, though.
So I heard you say it wasn't the Bama of last year. What's the big difference here? So they lost Mac Jones, which they have a Heisman Trophy winner this year. They lost Mac Jones, so why aren't they Bama of last year? What's the difference?
I think every year they'll just lose so many players, and of course you're going to plug in another 5-star guy, but first year players, defensively, they had some injuries, of course, but it didn't seem like that they had the playmakers, especially on defense, that they did last year. So I think that made a difference too, because defensively, they towards the end of the game, they gave up yards, gave up some big plays when they really needed a stop. And if they would have had a stop, they probably would have won the game. But
yeah, they had a tough finish there, and I think there's something to what you're saying there. So Derek, tell me, what's your thought process on Bama this year versus last year?
This year, their best 2 wide receivers got hurt in both Georgia games. You lost Menchie in the first game. No big deal. They were already up by a lot. This one, they looked like Alabama. Huge play to Jameson Williams. I think he had 4 catches, 65 yards, first half.
Yeah.
He goes down, totally different team. They didn't have the playmakers anymore, and that's like Wes said, they are a factory, but those 2 receivers were the receivers. In years past, it was you had Judy, Ruggs, Devontae Smith. You know what I mean? You've always had 3 or 4 receivers. This year, it looked like they just had Williams and Menchie. And when Menchie got hurt, it's okay. We still have Jameson Williams, who would have been, top 12 pick. And he was torching Georgia. And when he went down, It changed the total game.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, I think the moral story there, though, when you talk about these, you lose one or two key players, right? That's the difference in this game with two really good SEC teams. But what happens in like a Michigan game, right? So we talk about Michigan and Georgia. If Georgia loses one of their star players, like one of their great tight ends, do they still not have the ability to beat Georgia? And what's the difference between the SEC and kind of the rest of the NCAA there when it comes to these championship games? What do you think, Derek?
I'm sure, I can't remember which coach said it, but he said basically it's a different animal in the South. They love football so much. That's all they care about in the South. And that's what they do. That's all about football there. It's football, football, football. Now, places like Michigan, Ohio State, they are too, but they're not. It's like, Wes, I haven't been to the South. Wes, you've been to the South. It's a different animal in the South. They bred to love. And if you listen to like the Paul Feinbaum show, they're crazy about football. Crazy. That's all they think about.
Yeah. They it's a completely different culture. You have a lot more things to do out in California. There's not much to do in Alabama, but watch football,
Just play football.
But they and eat. They know how. They
Grow some big boys.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, there's, you don't have to go far to get some of the biggest, fastest players in the country. And I think that's the difference between you watch Michigan and Georgia. Of course, Michigan's got fast players, but Georgia's got
not that fast. Like,
but
that
Georgia,
speed thing is a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference between size and speed and just speed. And size and speed is just going to dominate. And that's SEC is just, they have the size and the speed, same amount of speed, but they have the size. And honestly, it's two different leagues. And I just think that at this point, though, just watching the Michigan game and not being surprised, because it happens all the time. Everyone that thinks, oh, Notre Dame's going to go down, and Notre Dame. Cincinnati
Notre Dame hasn't won a BCS game yet, right?
Yeah. I think they scored a touchdown. That's about it. But this fantasy that the Oregons and all these guys, they're going to come down and they're going to man up. The SEC is just doesn't happen. And like I said, you get two different national championships. There should, because college football, that's fine. NFL Farm League, SEC football,
NFL Farm League.
Yeah.
Well,
you might as well, because it becomes very, very not too interesting watching these semifinal games. That are just not very good games.
And it's going to get worse because Oklahoma and Texas are joining. And it's not even about Texas joining, because Texas is horrible. It's about the recruits in Texas now going to Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Now they're going and saying, oh, we can have all the Florida people, but you know what? Now we can have Texas too. So that's going to get even worse now. No, I forgot Texas A&M is already there, but yes.
Right.
So now
Texas
you got Texas A&M.
Yeah, that SEC dominance, it's hard to argue with, right? It's the athletes. They get the best athletes. They play against each other, so they're playing tougher competition on a regular basis. The Georgia game, just to be honest with you, I think they outplayed Alabama in the second half. It was a very even first half. I think whatever they said in the locker room, they came out, they made a great second half, they won the game. But at the end of the day, the SEC is going to dominate. There's not a lot you can do about that. So that's what you're seeing in college football coming. So don't get excited about college football. It's all SEC. But those are our playoff predictions. We're going to come back in a couple days. Next week, we're going to talk about the second round and see how disappointed we are in our picks, because we're not experts. So don't bet on it. But thanks for being here, guys. This is the High Society Club HSC Podcast. So join us next time, where we're going to take you through the playoffs, and then we'll get some new podcasts in, talk about everything you want to hear. We got Fresh West, and for today's episode, Derek, the Natural Boy Haney. So we'll see you guys next time.